Men are notoriously bad at reading the emotions of other people. In fact, our intuition is often nowhere close to hitting that of some women, which often means that men are completely negligent when it comes to reading signs women show them, especially when it comes to the question of whether she likes you or not. The problem with not being able to read these signs is that women will only keep on trying to show you for a finite amount of time. At some point, she'll simply accept the fact that you're not interested and move on. It's for this specific reason that it becomes crucial that you figure out how to read the signs that a woman likes you. But before we get into this, let's look at why women don't just straight up tell you. The passive-aggressive nature of women explained. Followers of this channel have probably heard us talk about how women often choose the passive-aggressive route instead of directly communicating their thoughts to men. You see, one of the main reasons for this is actually very simple, and it relates to the fact that women are far more insecure and have an innate fear of rejection. You see, men often have to deal with rejection, and this conditions them to eventually reach a mental frame of mind where they expect that they're to be rejected. Many of you following us have probably had to suffer through this, knowing that your probability of success is quite low, and this makes you used to rejection. On the flip side, women are often the hunted, and since they expect men to pursue them, they're very rarely the ones who get rejected. So if you consider psychology, it's easy to see that the female mind is not used to rejection, and they have an incredible fear of it. To combat this, most women rely on signals, or signs if they like, to entice a guy into making the move. As we've mentioned, this is all a way of avoiding rejection and giving them plausible deniability. If the guy doesn't pick up on some of these signs, they can walk away, dignity intact, and no one would even know they might have liked someone. But today, we are delving into the female realm of mind games and some of the involuntary signs she might show to help you understand whether she likes you or not. So make sure you stick around to the end as we look at some of the signs that a woman likes you, but is unwilling to directly tell you. Number 1. Happy when she is around you. One thing you need to understand about life is that life itself can be tough. With life often throwing these curveballs, it's extremely hard to keep on smiling and to remain in a positive frame of mind. However, the human mind is unique. You see, we can be in the worst mood ever, but once you're around the person you feel close to, it all changes, and it almost feels like all these worries are melting away. In fact, this is extremely prevalent at the start of a relationship. One of the first ways to see whether a woman likes you or not is to see how she reacts when she's around you. If she's always happy when you're in the vicinity, it's a clear sign that she's feeling at ease with you and she trusts that you can make things better, or at least have her feeling safe for the time being. Women tend to show some of their positive emotions when they feel comfortable and happy, and since it's actually hard to always be naturally happy, this is a clear sign. So if you notice her always in a good mood around you, especially over an extended period of time, it's a sign that she trusts you, and it could even possibly mean that she wants to be close to you. Number 2, the body language change. Instead of breaking each of these body language elements up into a point of their own, it's better to group them so we can focus on some more unique elements later down the line. Nevertheless, you've probably been belted by body language information from every influencer about how she moves and what she does when it comes to feeling attracted to a man. Well, all of these are true. They've just been overdone a little bit. So we'll run through them a little faster to give you an idea of what to look out for. The first one will be that her body language is a little more open. What we mean by this is that you'll not see her folding her arms or pointing away from you. She'll just give off an aura of being inviting, and you'll want to just be close to her because of this. Another important thing to note is that she might play with her hair, often twirling it around her finger, whilst licking her lips occasionally. But perhaps the most important body language element, which is directly tied to attraction, is that of smiling or having consistently positive facial expressions. This one does tie directly into the first point as well. If you're still a little unclear about body language, you need to learn to trust your gut feeling. In fact, positive body language will make you feel like she wants you to be close to her and remain engaged. On the flip side, negative body language can feel like you're overstepping, and it will often just give you a general feeling of discomfort. Number 3, a little nervousness can be cute. Another element she can rarely control is some of her moods. She might feel quite nervous around you, which stems from her innate fear of rejection. You might notice her often stumbling over her words, or she simply might just feel like she's a little more clumsy than you're used to. Much like men, women also have these feelings of butterflies in their stomach. The only difference is that it's often amplified when you are a woman, and this might lead to some nervous actions coming to the forefront. You'll notice that she does things a little differently, and it often might even feel like things are simply not right as well. Once you notice her being nervous, you'll need to make her feel a little calmer and more comfortable. This can take some practice, as subtly doing this is often best not to make her feel like you're seeing all of her emotions. If you confront her about it, you have a high probability that she'll deny everything as a way of trying to save her face. Number 4. Texting is the first real sign. Since most interaction takes place over the mobile phone, it's important to know that this is another area where women often subtly show their attraction toward a man. You see, texting is great, and since she doesn't have to face you directly, she can hide behind the mobile device. But to understand why this is important is to know how texting works in the modern world. You see, if you have a job or career and your life is busy, the last thing you have time for each day is to spend hours texting someone. For most women, this is the same, and they're also focusing on their goals and dealing with some of the troubles that life often conjures up. This means that no one is constantly looking at their mobile phones, and they simply neglect text messages or responses until they find the time to reply. However, when you like someone, you almost feel compelled to check your text messages, and when you see one from someone you like, it's very natural to want to respond. This is the same for women, and if she likes you, she will also be faced with this texting dilemma. But this can be a sign, and if she chooses to respond more frequently, she's sacrificing time that could have been spent on something else to communicate with you. So, if you notice an increase in text messages, especially in the frequency and the length of each message, you'll also know that she's investing her time into responding. This is perhaps one of the clearest signs of attraction, and one of the most subtle. It's also a way for you to increase communications and take the relationship to a new level. Number 5. Compliments, direct or indirect. Now, many people believe that women rarely compliment a man, and whilst this is true, they will compliment someone they like. If she likes you in any way, shape, or form, the probability that you will be on the receiving end of these compliments will increase exponentially. In fact, the first comments you receive are bound to be more on the subtle side, and they could involve things like your intelligence or the way you dress. But these are often easy to spot, and whenever you have to say thank you for a compliment, it is a direct one. However, women also employ the tactic of indirect compliments, which can often also be backhanded compliments. The compliments often involve you feeling a little insulted, but still good enough that you don't know exactly how to approach it. By struggling to understand if something is an insult or a compliment is a way in which women protect themselves when they say something good about you. By struggling to understand if something is an insult or a compliment is a way in which women protect themselves when they say something good about you. You see, the natural human expectation is very simple. Basically, whenever you say something good about someone, you naturally expect it back. But this is not always the case. Women will use insulting and indirect compliments to also see if they can endure some of these insults. This is a way of testing whether or not you are a solid man, and it should give you an indication that she does feel something for you as well. Number 6. Seeking excuses to see you. Another vitally important thing to note is that since people are busy, the last thing they want to focus on is making time for someone else. However, we as human beings still naturally make time for others, especially if we like them. To explain this better, you can look at yourself. Let's say you've just gotten a new car, or any new toy for that matter. Even though your time's fully occupied by your daily responsibilities, you are willing to make some sacrifices to drive around town. This could be taking a longer trip to work or just driving around town at night. Now, this same principle applies when we like someone or if someone likes us. It's completely natural to want to spend as much time with this person as possible. Now, for men, this is simple, and you can just call her or try to arrange a date. However, women don't want to be the ones calling the shots, and she would want you to be in control of what you do and when. However, she might come up with excuses to see you. The moment you notice her frequency of trying to see you or spend time with you increasing, you can be pretty sure that she likes you. Much like her making time to text you more frequently, she will also want to spend more time with you or at least be around you more often. Number 7. Slight hints at jealousy. When it comes to women, you can be sure they don't want to share their partners. Whilst some people have such fantasies, it's often in the minority. However, this also turns into a sign, especially at the start of a relationship, and you might often hear questions that relate to other women and if you're spending some time with these women in some way or another. You can notice this sign when you're out and about, and you're simply just being friendly to other women. You see, this friendliness can often be seen as a way of flirting, and for women, this can bring out the claws of the cat. However, since the relationship tends to be new or in the first few stages, she understands that she cannot react as women would normally act if they become jealous. This means that she'll start to suss out some information in the form of questions. Now, it might not always be direct questions, and in many cases, she could even turn to some underhanded jokes or even insults, calling you a player, or whatever the word for cheater happens to be when the two of you are getting close to a relationship. Now, this doesn't mean that she's necessarily angry with you, and you'll notice that this jealousy manifests itself in these weird ways. Whenever she begins to show you some of this jealousy, you can be sure that she likes you. No one gets jealous over the actions of someone they don't like. Number 8, being shy around you. To understand this one, you might need some assistance from others who also know her a little better than you know her. However, one of the most powerful things you will notice, which indicates attraction, is a slight shift in her personality. She might go from being extremely extroverted and charming to embodying a somewhat shy demeanor when it comes to you. Your friends, or even those who know both of you, will be able to give you more insight, but there's a reason for this. You see, the fear of rejection makes people do things they don't often do, and this often involves not wanting to risk making any mistakes. To avoid making some of these mistakes, the best course of action is often to just remain a little more silent and be shyer than you often are. By coming across as shy, people don't expect you to be the one driving or even leading any conversation, and it allows you a way out whilst removing the spotlight. So if you notice her being shyer around you, it's a clear sign that she feels intimidated by you, and that is one of the most powerful signs of attraction. It'll be up to you to deal with this matter as the relationship progresses, but she will at some point feel more comfortable and revert to being herself. Number 9, she tends to agree with you more. Now, this one can be a little tricky, but you need to understand that attraction involves something called respect. You see, whenever someone truly respects you, they will rarely challenge your authority, and they are more inclined to fall in line and agree with everything you're saying. However, the opposite can also be true, and you might notice that she disagrees with you simply for the reason of disagreeing. This is one of those double-edged swords, and you should consider combining this with some of the other signs to ensure that you know if she likes you or if you're just misreading the situation. Number 10. She will listen to everything you say. If you've ever dabbled a bit in the world of psychology, you would have noticed that the one thing people constantly want to talk about is themselves. People always want the attention to be on them, and they might even interrupt your conversation. But this is something that completely changes once attraction is established, and you might notice that she hangs on every word you say. If she starts listening to your every word, it's one of the best possible signs that she finds you interesting, and it also means that there's definitely some level of attraction. Now, these are just 10 obvious signs that show you a woman likes you, but things can be a little more complicated when you first start dating. This now means that you should be the one courting her. If you found this video helpful, make sure to check out how older men often get the girl they like next. Learn from the incredible wisdom.